The Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe. It was the largest contiguous land empire in history, covering over 24 million square kilometers, more than twice the size of the Roman Empire at its height. The Mongols reshaped everything in their path. Trade routes changed, borders collapsed, cities vanished, and for those living in the 13th century, the name Mongol became synonymous with terror. Chroniclers in the Islamic world describe them not as an invading army, but as a force of nature, like a flood, an earthquake, or divine punishment. Ibn al-Athir, writing in the 1220s, said he avoided documenting the Mongol invasion because the horrors were simply too painful to describe. By the early 1220s, the empire had crushed the once powerful Khwarezmian state. Cities like Bukhara, Samarkand, Nishapur, and Urgench were reduced to rubble. Their defenders were wiped out, their populations massacred or enslaved. But who was the man behind all of this? How did a boy born on the steppes of Mongolia, struggling to find food, rise to command an empire that changed the shape of the world forever? On a harsh night in 1162, Temüjin was born in a nomadic encampment beneath Burkhan Khaldun mountain near the Onon River in northeastern Mongolia. Temüjin's father, Yasugai, was a notable figure, a respected chieftain of the Kamag Mongol Confederation, a loose tribal union often threatened by rivalry and internal division. Temüjin spent his earliest years witnessing these tribal negotiations and the continual warfare that defined Mongol life. He learned hunting, riding, and survival skills essential to nomadic culture. From childhood, he was accustomed to the harsh environment and daily demands of a tribal warrior's son. This early upbringing provided him with the practical knowledge needed to endure the unforgiving Mongolian steppe. When Temüjin was approximately 9 years old, Yasugai traveled to meet leaders of the rival Tatars, aiming to negotiate peace or perhaps to consolidate power. However, the Tatars saw an opportunity to remove Yasugai, who had previously defeated their forces. Under the guise of hospitality, they secretly poisoned his food, ensuring his slow death. Returning gravely ill, Yasugai succumbed to poisoning within days. His death had immediate, severe consequences. Without a leader, the Kamag Mongol Confederation quickly fractured. Tribal elders loyal to Yasugai turned their backs on his family, including Temüjin, his mother Holan, and his siblings. They were stripped of their possessions, livestock, and protective ties, cast out onto the steppe to fend for themselves. This expulsion was essentially a death sentence, as survival without tribe or allies was nearly impossible. For nearly a decade, Temüjin and his family lived in isolation, scavenging and hunting to survive. Food was scarce. Temüjin and his brothers regularly caught fish, rodents, and birds, supplementing their diets with wild berries, roots, and plants. They frequently moved locations to avoid confrontations with other tribes and scavengers competing for resources. During these difficult years, family dynamics became strained. The eldest half-brother, Bekta, often clashed with Temüjin over hunting grounds and resource distribution. Around 1180, when Temüjin was approximately 14, a severe conflict erupted. Bekta had withheld food from the family, causing anger among the siblings. In response, Temüjin and his younger brother Kashar ambushed and killed Bekta, ending the internal rivalry and asserting Temüjin's dominance within the family. By 1180, Temüjin, nearing adulthood, began efforts to reconnect with his father's former allies. He sought out powerful figures who had once respected Yasugai, hoping to restore the family's status. Temüjin traveled to the Ongirat tribe to fulfill a marriage arrangement initially organized by his father. There he married Borta, daughter of Day Sechan, a respected leader within the Ongirat tribe. This marriage significantly improved Temüjin's standing, providing a crucial alliance and marking his return to the complex web of tribal politics. Soon after their marriage, tragedy struck once more. The Merkit tribe, enemies of Temüjin's lineage, launched a surprise raid on Temüjin's encampment, abducting Borta. The Merkit attack was retaliation for an earlier insult involving Temüjin's father Yesugai, who had taken a Merkit woman decades earlier. To get Borta back and restore his honor, Temüjin asked for help from two powerful allies, his childhood friend Jamuka and Togrul, the leader of the Khwarezmian tribe and an old friend of Temüjin's father. Together they gathered a large army and planned a surprise night attack on the Merkits, the tribe that had kidnapped Borta. The combined force swiftly attacked the Merkit encampment in a coordinated raid at night, overwhelming the surprised defenders. Borta was rescued, and the Merkits were severely punished, many of their warriors killed, women captured, and their camp thoroughly plundered. Rescuing Borta was a turning point in his life. It restored his honor, proved his strength as a leader, and showed he could unite powerful allies like Jamuka and Togrul. The successful raid gave him credibility, drew new followers to his side, and marked the beginning of his rise from an outcast to a serious contender for power on the steppe. History gets a little blurry in the years that followed, but by 1206, the picture becomes clear again. Temüjin had defeated all the major tribes that once challenged him, like the Naiman, Merkits, Khwarezmian, and Tatars. That year, all the Mongol leaders gathered near a sacred mountain called Burkan Khaldun. In a huge meeting called a Kurultai, they officially named Temüjin as their ruler and gave him the title Genghis Khan, which meant universal ruler or sea ruler. That was the moment the Mongols went from scattered tribes to a united nation, ready to take on the rest of the world. By 1206, Temüjin had gone from an exiled, starving child to supreme ruler of all Mongolian tribes. His meticulous efforts to build loyal, merit-based structures of power, his strategic genius, and his ruthless handling of rivals had laid the groundwork for future Mongol conquests. Before 1206, the Mongol plateau was a patchwork of tribes: Merkits, Tatars, Khwarezmians, Naimans, and others, locked in cycles of alliance and blood feud. Power shifted constantly. Temüjin's rise came through a mixture of battlefield victories, smart marriages, and political ruthlessness. He built his leadership on three pillars: meritocracy, discipline, and reward. The result was an army unlike any the steppe had seen, loyal, disciplined, and mobile. But the unity was new and fragile. Without external campaigns, the Confederation could fracture, and the Mongol homeland could not support the long-term needs of a large professional fighting force. Western Xia's strategic position made it an attractive first objective. It controlled stretches of the Silk Road and key mountain passes, giving it influence over trade between China, Central Asia, and the steppe. Its fertile yellow river plains could support armies with grain and supplies, resources the steppe lacked. There was also a political pretext. The Tangut court had given refuge to Nilka Sengum, a defeated rival of Genghis Khan. Avenging this insult provided a justification for war that Mongol allies could rally behind. In the spring of 1209, Genghis Khan assembled his forces, estimated at around 70,000 men, and moved south. The first major obstacle was Khiman Pass, a fortified mountain route into Tangut territory. Instead of a costly frontal assault, Genghis used a classic Mongol tactic, a feigned retreat. His cavalry withdrew in apparent panic, drawing Tangut defenders out into open terrain, where they were surrounded and annihilated. The pass fell, opening the road to the Tangut heartland. Rather than waste time on smaller fortresses, the Mongols advanced directly toward Yinchuan, the Tangut capital. The city was heavily fortified, with walls protecting a large urban center and defended by an estimated 150,000 troops. nearly twice the size of the Mongol force. To overcome these defenses, Genghis attempted an ambitious engineering project, diverting the Yellow River to flood the city. Using captured engineers and forced labor, the Mongols built dikes and channels to redirect the river's flow. The plan failed spectacularly when the water broke through the works and flooded parts of the Mongol camp instead, forcing a withdrawal from close siege positions. Abandoning the flood plan, Genghis settled into a blockade. The Mongols encircled Yinchuan, cutting off supply lines and raiding the surrounding countryside. The Tangut ruler, Emperor Shangzong, sent urgent appeals for aid to the Jin dynasty, Western Xia's nominal ally and overlord. The Jin court, wary of strengthening the Tanguts, refused to intervene. With food supplies dwindling and no hope of relief, the Tangut court opened negotiations. In early 1210, Emperor Shangzong formally submitted to Genghis Khan. Terms of vassalage. The settlement was pragmatic rather than punitive. Western Xia acknowledged Mongol supremacy and became a tributary state. Annual tribute of goods and grain was promised. Military support was pledged for future Mongol campaigns. A Tangut princess was given to Genghis Khan in marriage, sealing the alliance. Genghis spared Yinchuan from destruction, choosing not to occupy it directly. Instead, Western Xia remained semi-autonomous under its own rulers, but firmly under Mongol influence.